Hello everyone and welcome back to the Jamaican Geologist YouTube channel. This is episode 10 in the Geology Foundation Series, and today I will be exploring what I like to call the Goldilocks of rocks. You remember that story from our childhood, Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Goldilocks was a picky little girl, if you ask me. The porridge can't be too hot or too cold. The bed can't be too hard or too soft. And the chair can't be too big or too small. In the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, everything had to be just right. And for me, that's how I like to think of metamorphic rocks, the topic of today's video. They form in conditions where it's not too hot to cause melting and magma, in which case we will get igneous rocks, and not too cold where diagenesis occurs and sedimentary rocks form like they did in our previous episode. Also, there must be the right amount of heat and pressure. This is our final episode dedicated to rocks in the series. So far, we have gone through a general sort of introduction to rocks, then igneous rocks and sedimentary types, and those were quite fun to do, and based on the engagement I've been getting from you, my viewers and subscribers, I can tell that you have been enjoying the exploration of rocks too. So today's episode on metamorphic petrology promises to be just as exciting. So let's get started. So my style throughout this series has been to break down the etymology of fundamental words and concepts. Let's examine metamorphic rocks. What can the word metamorphic tell us about the rock? Let's examine each syllable of the word in isolation and put it back together for the most simplified definition we can come up with. So it's metamorphic. Meta is derived from the Greek and it means after, beyond, or change. Morph means form or shape, and ic means related to or characterized by. So simply put, metamorphic rocks are those rocks characterized by a change in form. So a pre-existing rock is exposed to heat and pressure and it changes to a different type of rock. That's metamorphism in a nutshell, and we will explore further in the following segments. So metamorphism is the process that changes an original rock or a parent rock into a new type of rock. So there are two types of metamorphism. There is contact metamorphism and regional metamorphism. Let's start with contact metamorphism, shall we? Contact metamorphism occurs when magma moves through rocks and the heat causes changes in the mineral structure. Crucially, I must note that there is no melting here, like what happens with igneous rocks, where you get the magma and then the magma cools. Contact metamorphism happens when magma is present, yes, but it doesn't occur in the same way as igneous rocks. It is especially common near hotspot locations, mid-ocean ridges, and continental rifts, where rising heated material moves through crust and alters the surrounding rock. Regional metamorphism occurs when pre-existing rocks undergo recrystallization in response to simultaneous increases in heat and pressure. It takes place in two main ways. The first is through deep burial, beneath thick layers of rock and sediment, often more than 6 miles. this is where the geothermal gradient subjects the rock to intense heat and pressure. And the second occurs through plate tectonics, where direct heat and pressure are generated during the collision of tectonic plates. And we'll explore tectonic plates soon. Such collisions lead to mountain building, producing foliated rock textures within the mountain ranges. Unlike contact metamorphism, which is more localized, both forms of regional metamorphism affect vast areas of the crust. So when parent rocks are subjected to heat and pressure, they undergo changes whose extent depends on the intensity of those conditions. This degree of alteration is known as the metamorphic grade. Low-grade metamorphic rocks often retain many features of the original parent rock, whereas high-grade metamorphic rocks may appear very different from their precursors. Temperature and pressure are the main factors influencing this transformation. Low-grade metamorphic rocks form under relatively low temperature and pressure, while high-grade metamorphic rocks develop under much higher temperature and pressure. Examples of low-grade rocks include slate and phyllite, while gneiss and migmatite are examples of high-grade metamorphic rocks. So the sedimentary rock shale, made of tiny clay particles, changes into slate when exposed to heat and pressure. Slate breaks into flat, smooth layers. When more heat is added, slate becomes phyllite, containing shiny layers of tiny mica minerals. If temperature and pressure rise enough for mica to grow large enough to see, the rock becomes schist. Around 650 degrees Celsius, minerals stop forming layers and instead move to relieve pressure. Some minerals move more easily than others, separating into light and dark bands to form gneiss. This process is called metamorphic differentiation. If gneiss continues to heat under certain conditions, it may partly melt and form migmatite. And migmatites have light and dark bands, but the layers are often swirled from the melting. Limestone and dolostone do not follow this sequence. Instead, heat and pressure compresses the minerals until there are no gaps between them, forming marble. And marble is hard, smooth, and good for sculpting. Sandstone changes into quartzite in a similar way, with mineral grains fused into one solid mass. So when basalt is subjected to pressure at relatively low temperatures, its minerals change and the rock becomes foliated. At low pressures, green-colored minerals form, creating a metamorphic rock called green schist, noted for both its green color and foliated texture. With higher pressure, these minerals turn blue, forming blue schists. If temperature continues to rise, blue schists change into gneiss, as with sedimentary rocks. Intrusive igneous rocks like granite can also become gneiss when heat and pressure cause minerals to separate into light and dark bands. Again, metamorphic differentiation. Direct pressure produces a texture unique to metamorphic rocks known as foliation. Foliation develops when minerals align into thin layers under direct pressure, becoming compressed or reshaped into elongated linear forms. I must note here that not all metamorphic rocks are foliated. In cases of contact metamorphism or when only direct pressure is applied, minerals may reorganize, but they do not arrange into sheets or layers, so foliation doesn't occur all the time. Okay, so we have gone through the types and grades of metamorphism, as well as the major metamorphic texture, foliation. Knowing these characteristics and variables helps us classify the metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks can be classified by examining their parent rock, metamorphic conditions, and texture. If the parent rock is shale, low temperature and pressure will produce slate, which is foliated. Increasing the temperature and pressure to low and intermediate levels transforms shale into phyllite, also foliated. When the parent rock is phyllite, basalt, sandstone, or limestone, and it experiences intermediate to high temperature and pressure, it becomes schist, a foliated rock. If the parent rock is schist, igneous rocks, sand, or limestone, and is subjected to high temperature and pressure, it changes into gneiss, which is also foliated. Further metamorphism of gneiss under high temperature and pressure produces migmatite, another foliated rock. Not all metamorphic rocks are foliated. When limestone and dolostone undergoes contact metamorphism from heat or high indirect pressure, it becomes marble, which is non-foliated. Sandstone and chert exposed to contact heat or low indirect pressure is transformed into quartzite, also non-foliated. Similarly, shale or basalt that experiences contact heat or low indirect pressure forms hornfels, another non-foliated rock. So why does this matter? Well, like with the other rock types, understanding metamorphic rocks helps us to understand Earth's geological history, right? From an industrial standpoint, like with all rocks, metamorphic rocks finds application in construction. I mean, marble, of course, is used for tiles, and marble floors and countertops are a symbol of status and luxury. Slate is traditionally used for roof tiles. Metamorphic rocks, in many cases, also act as host rocks for metallic minerals. Gold, silver, and copper are concentrated by metamorphic processes just like they are in igneous processes. Something that also immediately comes to mind is the metamorphic rock serpentinite, which hosts metals like nickel and cobalt. I even think of the jewelry business. Porphyroblasts are large metamorphic mineral crystals that grow within a finer grained matrix during metamorphism. Examples of porphyroblasts include kyanite and epidote, but perhaps the most popular one is garnet. My viewers born in January know that garnets are the birthstone of January, and those really into jewelry may own one or two pieces of jewelry that contain garnets. And there are also so many applications of metamorphic rocks that I haven't included here, but add them to the comments. I would love to hear from you. So we have come to the end of our last rock episode in this series. Here we discussed metamorphic rocks and why I consider them the Goldilocks of rocks. We talked about the different grades and what rocks undergo changes, the results of these changes, the textures, and the classifications. So join me next time when I will discuss some basic geological structures. Until then, it's bye for now. Take care.